Welcome, welcome, welcome to Sapphire Ridge News. We'll give people a few seconds to pile in here, and we'll see if we can get this horse out the barn. Today is an update on the California wildfires. This is a tragedy, and the governor signed laws making it illegal to clear brush away from the forest, clear brush away from your yard, even clear leaves away from the forest or from your yard. And he says, no, that law doesn't exist. Well, excuse me, it does. I know people that live in California, and they have said that they cannot clean up fallen leaves. They cannot clear brush away. And we see this tragedy unfolding, houses being burnt to the ground because the fire comes through and the leaves and the brush, of course, catch fire because they're laying on the ground. And he also says that diverting water from the delta, where they're protecting the delta smelt, into hell with the citizens, that would not make a difference. Well, excuse me, yes, it would. If you remove the dam that holds back the water from the delta smelt, and instead of sending the water out to the friggin' ocean and creating reservoirs along the way through the San Joaquin Valley, you would not have this going on because the water would wash the leaves and the brush away. But he does not want the water and the leaves and the brush washed away because he's too incompetent to realize that the brush and the leaves are fuel for the fires. The president of Austria said that in their forest, they don't have many forest fires because, excuse me, because they clean up all the brush, they clean up all the leaves, they do controlled burns every spring to eliminate fuel for the forest fires. But that is illegal in California. It's even illegal for them to make a fire break. This is just utter incompetence for him to say, nope, that law doesn't exist. Get real, dude. I got some video clips I'm going to share for you. Oh, went too far.
I've lived in and around the Palisades for 25 years, so I think all of us we want to get our hands into working somehow to be helpful. It is not some faraway place that you can't reach. This is like the street we run down on 5Ks. This is where the little fire truck that, God bless our firefighters, this is where the fire truck goes, on the 4th of July parade. This is a neighborhood. Yeah. I did lose a friend who did not get out in time. And,
Well, how has it been for you just to see all this?
It's just, my heart bleeds for my friends. I mean, I can think of 100 families, and there are 5,000 homes lost. I could just write out a list of 100 friends who lost their homes. It's just like, I feel almost guilty walking through my house. Just, what can I do? How can I help? What can I offer? What do I have to offer with these hands and these walls and the safety that I have?
JD Vance was on television today talking about lack of competency on your part.
Okay.
What do you say to? You've heard this almost every single day.
Yeah, I haven't talked to him. Hurricanes that were attached to fires, unprecedented wind experiences, heroic firefighters from all across the United States. We got folks from Texas, we got folks from Wyoming that have been pounding on this, the best next-gen technology. We've got these fire hawks, guys with night vision goggles, pounding these fires 24/7. We've got thousands of National Guard men and women that have been on here. We pre-positioned 120 engines, helicopters, dozers, water tenders. We did that on Sunday, 2 days before this event. So with respect to the future vice president, I didn't hear his remarks, but I would invite him, as I did Donald Trump, to visit with the community, express empathy of the scale of this tragedy, and be here for the American people that happen to reside here in Southern California.
The California fires are shaking, but this one home in the Pacific Palisades was not shaken at all. All the destruction of the homes in the neighborhood, and this last single home was left standing because of a passive house structure. There's a lot to this story, very interesting story. Let's talk about it. So this is Chasing Greg. This is him talking from his account, and he lives in an I Live home. And he is one of the executive directors at MGM. So although they've owned this lot that the home was on since like 97, they just moved into the home 6 months ago. Now, there's so many idiosyncrasies about this home that made it not burn down that I'm going to get into, but let's read some of the things that he said. He said, no words really, just a horror show. Some of the design choices we made here helped, but we were also very lucky. So let's speak about some of those design choices. So I'm going to read directly from an article about this situation from mansionglobal.com. And they spoke about these passive houses and how its new developments are to make energy efficient homes that don't have a lot of structures that embers can catch onto. Let us read. That's because the key element of a passive house construction is to protect the envelope, which is coupled with an efficient air ventilation system known as HRV, heat recovery ventilation, to reduce the home's exposure to the elements. So it's not nothing to burn, thus minimalizing its energy footprint, said Ken Leviston, the executive director of the Brooklyn Passive House Network. So this is a new innovative structure that this is some of the things that only rich people would even know we can even get. And so, people like Paris Hilton, people like Janae Aiko, yes, they might be rich, although not the same level of rich. This is something, executive director at MGM, this is something for the rich that are just building their homes. Let me continue to read. The sealed environment ends up providing protection from outdoor elements, including noise, pollution, smoke, and extreme cases, fire. The insulation coupled with air tightness really protects the structure from boiling. Isn't that interesting? Science is so cool. So I want you to get a closer look at this home compared to other homes. It's a simple home. It's a beautiful home. Still considered a mansion to most people, and it's in the Pacific Palisades, surrounded by mansions. But look at that. The tires are burnt off of this car completely next to it, melted all the way into the ground. The house next to it, a stomp. The house next to it, a garden now. It is sitting there standing, all because of insulation structures and simple stone that is built in. Wow, if this house was made of wood or anything like that, it would have gone up in flames like the rest of it. Let's also read some things that Greg said. So this is Christina Kinnicky speaking of it. You have to have a sterile perimeter, no vegetation. And I noticed in California, a lot of people are hippies. So they've got their garden area. They've got stuff growing around it. This house did not have that. No vegetation except for planters. You'll probably have a fire-resistant roof and siding. You'll have a brick and mortar retaining wall. Very interesting. Because you can heat up brick and that's just gonna, heat's gonna bounce off brick like a fireplace. Those are all good safeguards against fire. There's no luck involved because he said we're really lucky. Now, Greg Chasen, the homeowner, said also no vents or eaves. Let me look up an eave. No vents or eave and tempered glass windows. Are those tempered glass windows going to also be cause of an explosion? He said lucky that there was a bit more space from the neighbors. So space between the homes. Just so, it had time to the fire to go out in that brick and mortar area. But unlucky that the neighbor pulled his car into the driveway. The solid concrete perimeter wall probably saved us there. So in a close-up, you see that concrete wall? And do you see that melted car from the neighbor? Crazy, isn't it? It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Very interesting. And I think now that this is going to probably be the standard for all rebuilt homes in California forever and for always. They're always going to have to be made as passive house structures.
That's just crazy. If I can't put bushes around my house or garden, then I'll pass. That's probably why I live in Montana.
Is this your home?
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
When did you see this?
Just about 10 minutes ago.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
We watched neighbors try to put water on
I know,
this.
that's what I heard. I'm very appreciative of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but everybody got a faith. That's all that matters. So we can rebuild.
Yeah.
So that's where.
How long were you here?
My entire life.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm kind of in shock right now.
Yeah. I'm so
and
sorry.
I'm just watching this house burn down here too. I'm just.
It must be surreal.
It really is.
What should people know about this street, this home, this community? I've met so many of these people. There's such good people here.
That's it. Everybody is so helpful with one another. We all look out for one another. When somebody goes out of town, someone is always checking on their house.
Yeah.
Everyone says hello to one another. Everybody kind of knows everybody's business. It's a really great neighborhood to grow up in. When there was 52 kids on this block when I was growing up, and so it was just. It's home, and all of the childhood friends are coming back now and checking on everybody, and it's nice. I've gotten many calls today.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a lovely neighborhood.
Have you ever seen could you imagine this happening at your home?
No. We stayed until 1:50 last night, and just when the ambers got too big, that's when we left. But we never thought it would happen to us.
This is just heartbreaking and tragic. All these people have lost their homes. And it's all due to the California government incompetence. And why I say that is because in California, it's illegal to pick up brush in your yard, to clean away leaves in your yard, to create a firewall in the forest so that the fire can't jump from one side of the forest to the other. That's all illegal. And Gavin Newsom said, no, that law doesn't exist. Well, I know people that live in California that have said, you cannot pick up brush in your yard. You cannot clean up leaves in your yard. The president of Austria said that in Austria, they mandate controlled burns in the spring. They clean up all brush. They have a truck that goes through and pushes the brush up into a pile. And they have some of the most beautiful forests. So why do we sit and make that basically forest management illegal? What's wrong with us? And another thing that Governor Newsom said is that diverting the water from the Delta down through the San Joaquin Valley to the LA area would not make a difference. Yes, it would, because the wet ground, if there was wet ground, leaves and brush, wet ground doesn't burn. So that shows his utter incompetence. Let me show the next clip.
I've lived in and around the Palisades for 25 years. So I think all of us just, we want to get our hands into working somehow to be helpful. It is not some faraway place that you can't reach. This is like the street we run down on 5Ks. This is where the little fire truck that, God bless our firefighters, this is where the fire truck goes, you know, on the 4th of July parade. This is a neighborhood. Yeah. I did lose a friend who did not get out in time. And, you know.
Well, how has it been for you just to see all this?
It's just, my heart bleeds for my friends. I mean, I can think of 100 families, and there are 5,000 homes lost. I could just write out a list of 100 friends who lost their homes. It's just like, I feel almost guilty walking through my house, just, you know, what can I do? How can I help? What can I offer? What do I have to offer with these hands and these walls and the safety that I have?
Oh, excuse me.
I have no words. The Asheville flood versus the California wildfires. If you live in Asheville, this is going to be triggering. In 3, 2, 1.
This morning, due to the magnitude of the disaster, I was talking with the governor, and he requested if I could increase the federal funding that was authorized under this legislation from 75% to 90%. We're increasing it to 100%.
Are you pissed off enough yet? I am not taking anything away from the wildfires that are happening in California right now. For the non-celebrities, this is completely devastating. But the imbalance of support is staggering. Our $750, if you even qualified for it, was a bit of a slap in the face. But then we see multi-millionaires with Malibu homes on the beach getting 6 months of 100% support from the federal government. And frankly, the people of North Carolina should be as fired up as the people in California.
Yeah. I'm going to do a video on that later this week, because they're both tragedies, but the way the Biden administration handled North Carolina was just abysmal. You know, there are people that have come forward that have said that they were told, if there's a Trump sign in the yard, do not talk to them. That's disgraceful, and that deserves to be investigated. Yeah, that was just a short one. I got a couple of short ones I want to show you.
Los Angeles has been my second home for nearly 25 years, and I am devastated by what I've seen, read. It's horrific. Along with a lot of other people, I want to do something to help. I've done some research, and it looks like the Red Cross organization is doing an awful lot, and I'm sending you my love, my prayers, my support, lots of love.
You see all these fires right now, right? I tried telling everybody a year ago that these fires were going to come, and nobody wanted to listen to me. But now here we are, and guess what they're going to be blaming it on? Ding, 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 you probably guessed it fucking right. But guess what? I also tried telling everybody where specifically that these fires were going to start. But people wanted to act like I have no idea what I'm talking about. I've seen the blueprints for this shit. I know what's on the way. And if you don't know what fires I'm talking about, there's a series of fires breaking out around Los Angeles. You have the Palisades fire, you have the Eaton fire, and you have the Hearst fire. All of which are 0% contained, by the way. And wind gusts of up to 100 miles per hour are forecast. And at least 49,000 people have been ordered to evacuate right now. People were forced to abandon their cars because the fire was spreading so damn fast. People are even taking shelter on the beach. I mean, the Palisades fire in itself was reported to blaze through at least 5 football fields a minute. But more than 200,000 people were without power come Tuesday evening, with 420,000 more under consideration for a power cut. And people actually think that this is normal? I'm gonna put a specific article in the comment section so I can really provide some clarification, because there's just some shit that you cannot mention on this app. All I'm going to recommend that everybody does.
Good thing that's come out of the Pacific Palisades fire is Spencer and Heidi Pratt and their redemption. And here's why it matters to you. They are TikTok darlings right now. We are all supporting them. And side note, I've been supporting them since day one, and you guys are all jumper honors, but whatever. I feel a little bit of jealousy around that, but that's okay. They have been reporting about the fires since they lost their home, and it's been compelling, and it's been heartbreaking, and it's been wonderful to see how banded together they are. What a great husband and wife unit they are. How their kids are like obliviously happy, how heartbreaking it is for them, and how freaking resilient they are. They have rallied the whole country to step up and stream Heidi's music and give them hope in a horrible time. They've made us all feel hopeful. So I think the real question is not where we're going for a TikTok replacement, but where are we going after TikTok is banned to follow Spencer and Heidi's live updates? Snapchat? He doesn't really make money on Snapchat. I don't think we're doing Meta. Where are Spencer and Heidi going after the ban? That's the question. And whatever they decide, that's where we're going.
Here's a short video clip.
The President of the United States happens to be in town. It didn't take more than a text message to get the FMAG approved, which means we're getting reimbursed for the vast majority of these costs. No politics, no hand-wringing, no kissing of the feet. The President of the United States said, yes, what else do you need? Emergency proclamations being drafted as we speak. And I just want to thank the President, because that's something I don't take for granted, and something we should not take for granted at this moment in American history. So thank you, President Biden, as well.
He's a real piece of work, ain't he? Just a few.
The reality is that there are people with insurance, but there are a lot of people whose homes were not insured. Either they couldn't afford it, or the insurance company said, sorry, we're not going to do it.
And that's why I think it's important for federal government to recognize that all of Los Angeles is a disaster. And I think for FEMA to step in and really help and try to help. And it's going to be a long road. I think for anybody with insurance, without insurance, it is what it is, but there's going to be a lot of people struggling. So I'm hoping FEMA can step in so we can rebuild. And when we do rebuild with the awareness of it happening. And how do we set up our communities and our homes and our neighborhoods so that, well, maybe there's less loss.
You talk about advocacy now in the aftermath of this, because one of your most famous roles, that of Jack.
It's ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, it had to cross your mind.
It most certainly did. It's not lost on me, the connection between Jack Pearson losing his house to fire and me now losing mine to fire. But at the same time, I think, had I not played that role, I recognize that I've got a voice, and I can stand out and speak up and make phone calls and knock on doors and very politely not take no for answers.
I got just 4 more short video clips.
Snoop Dogg's home in Los Angeles has burnt to the ground after Snoop Dogg released a statement yesterday, 1 a.m. local time. The Los Angeles wildfires, exacerbated by strong Santa Ana wind, continue to spread devastation across the region. One affected area includes the neighborhood where Snoop Dogg's home is located. Due to the fire rapidly approaching, evacuations were ordered early in the evening for the area. Snoop Dogg recently shared his grief over the loss of his family home to the fire.
You know, we need to keep in mind this fire spread at the rate of 5 football fields a minute. Think about that. 5 football fields a minute. Could anybody be prepared for that? I don't think so. Could you grab your important papers within a minute? I don't think so. We need to discuss this after.
God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say.
One was important because it shows the before and after of the town. And please be sure to like this video so that YouTube knows that we are of value.
Is this or will it be the worst natural disaster in the history of the United States?
I think it will be in terms of just the costs associated with it, in terms of the scale and scope. I'll only remind the folks in California with the Tubbs fire, 5,600 houses were lost, and of course Camp Fire, we had 18,000 housing units lost and 85 people that lost their lives. Currently, we're getting confirmation from the coroner, so we always have to be careful on the death toll, but it's in the 13 range, and I've got search and rescue teams out, we've got cadaver dogs out, and there's likely to be a lot more.
You know, he's got some nerve to sit there and talk about previous fires and the death toll from previous fires when this fire, see, this is now 5 fires. 3 of them were set on the same day at the same time. That's not a coincidence. Somebody did this purposefully. There have been reports of drones flying overhead, but I cannot find confirmation of that. They said they were shaped like hoverboards, but I can't find no confirmation, so I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole when I don't have confirmation that there was drones there. But you have entire cities burnt to the ground, and he's talking about the death toll from previous fires. Is he out of his friggin' mind? You know, Pacific Palisades burnt to the ground. Altadena burnt to the ground. Malibu burnt to the ground. Brentwood burning as we speak. And zero containment. In Los Angeles, they are putting the blame on other municipalities. The Santa Ynez Reservoir, which holds 17 million gallons of water, guess what? It was emptied in the spring of last year for repairs, and a year later here, it's not repaired, so it sits empty. The fire hydrants have no water because the reservoir is empty. These are facts. The mayor of Los Angeles disputes the facts. She cut the fire department budget by $17 million a week before the fire hit, and then she went to Ghana on vacation. And when she came home, I'll give her this much, she did cut her vacation short and come home. But when she came home, she would not speak one word to the citizens. Not one word. A reporter asked if she had anything to say to the citizens that have lost their homes, and she stood there silent for almost a minute. And then the door opened and she walked on without saying a word. The reporter followed her, and when she got to the next door, he asked her again. He said, "Have you nothing to say to the citizens that have lost their houses?" And she looked at him with this blank stare and said nothing. To me, that disqualifies her for her job. At least the DEI hire fire chief spoke up and said, "The city has failed us," for which she got called to the mayor's office for telling the truth and telling that the mayor cut the fire department budget by $17 million. The mayor sent all the excess fire equipment to Ukraine. Hold on here. Sent all the excess fire equipment to Ukraine. And that's just disgraceful. Sent all your extra fire equipment to Ukraine. And it's also illegal to clean up brush. And you cannot pick up leaves. So that is fuel for the fire. That's fuel for the fire. And the fire races through because it has all this fuel, yet the governor says that's not what happened. What do you mean that's not what happened? If you take away the fuel for the fire can't spread as fast because the dead limbs and the leaves are not there to add to the fire's ferocity. But he doesn't believe the truth. And even if the Prime Minister of Austria came to California and said, "This is what you need to do," Governor Newsom would say, "Nope, we need to protect the Delta smelt. We need to protect the snail darter," or whatever the hell he could come up with. And he did not protect the citizens, because the reason why I say this is because when Trump was previously in office, he got legislation passed that would have taken the water in the Delta and passed it through the San Joaquin Valley in like it would have made a river through there down to LA to the forest. The water kept the forest floor moist. They would have had reservoirs along the way so they could collect the rainwater. What did Gavin Newsom do? He made a aqueduct system and sends the excess rainwater to the ocean. That's just crazy. I can't understand how this guy keeps his job. But one of the video clips that I couldn't get downloaded said that because of these fires, the California is going to turn red. I can only hope that that is true. Yep. So make sure and like this video, and we're going to get out of here, and we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow will be at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. We will be covering Donald Trump and Obama. At Jimmy Carter's funeral, they were sitting there talking and laughing and mucking it up. And then Donald Trump said, I invited him to come and play golf, and he accepted. And then he told him that he needed to talk to him privately today about an important matter. And he said, okay. So that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. I'm thinking of doing 2 lives tomorrow because Pete Hegseth confirmation hearing is tomorrow, and I want to be able to share with you guys that because that's an important thing. Pete Hegseth is a great guy. So we will see you tomorrow. Take care. Love you guys. Bye.